Hey friends, hello the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life. So, your host, the Silver Monoma. First of all, thank you so much for sending me lots of congratulations on my Italian language exam. I was so overwhelmed with so many wishes. I didn't think it was that much of a big deal until everyone started sending me best wishes, and I'm like, oh no, I need to take it seriously. Anyway, so I did the test yesterday, advanced level, and it was from 8:30 until 2:30, and it was very challenging in so many ways, but also amazing in others. And one of the amazing ways was that I was able to achieve that level and sitting in that exam after only learning it regularly from February this year until December. So, and getting to that level of C1, I was proud of myself. And for anyone who is saying that it's hard to learn a language and you have to learn it, like invest it for however long, it doesn't have to be, right? So you can always decide how long things can take and then make the things happen within that period. Of course, I'm not suggesting that you do that unrealistically, but you know your own capabilities, your own abilities. So that's why you can sometimes decide that no, it's going to take this time. And then I will create things happen in that period if that's really important to you, of course. So that is one thing that I have done yesterday. And yesterday, I also bought tickets to Kyrgyzstan. So my partner and I are going tomorrow. So it was like a last minute, but still we're going. So very excited about that and celebrating holidays with a family is a great place to be, right? So, the topic that I really want to talk to you today about is upwards and downwards transitioning. And this is the concept you can use in any other goal setting, and maybe you're using it, but I would love to share how I usually use it and how I also suggest my clients to use it. And you can also start using it now, as of now, as you listen to me. So, I have realized one thing that I think many of us somehow learn to do is like we have to go our way upwards, like upwards in the sense of like up the ladder. We need to go like gradually go up the ladder, or we need to like finish the education, gradually working our way up towards some goal that we want to, right? So it's like the idea basically is to start something that is not there, but going it from the upwards, like going towards up somewhere to the thing that we want to. This is how we usually approach things, and this is how we usually do this by like getting our first UNV volunteering job or getting our whatever the volunteering work and then getting or no they, before even volunteering maybe we do some internship and then volunteering and then the first contract and the second contract, right? So at least in the humanitarian world, this is how we think about things of going like up and up and up in the ladder, right? Um, and that's probably like for many of us is a valid way to do things, and that's amazing. But what I'm noticing is that as we are going in our career ladders and as we're growing up and growing in that ladder, we tend to then approach everything like that. We tend to approach everything like um, from like not being able to do things to then being able to do things. And then we continue working towards that, right? But if you think about it, there are many other things that we do it other way around. One of the examples that come to my mind is the flying somewhere, right? So whenever we're flying, we first buy the ticket and then we work our way downward, so to say. So from the time when we buy the ticket, and then we work out all the in betweens of how are we going to go to the airport and what are the things we're going to do in the meantime to get there. And then that destination like dictates pretty much how we get there, right? So, and the same goes, for instance, with the Google Maps GPS, right? So the GPS can't go anywhere without you telling it where to go, and then it starts going there. So it has to be a very exact thing. And I was wondering, what if the way that we're not really achieving our specific goals or not achieving our transition is simply because we're not really giving that destination specifically because we're afraid that we won't get there. We're afraid we're going to be disappointed. So we rather keep things very vague, right? So that's why I was really thinking lately that I want to really advocate on this idea of downwards transitioning instead of upward transitioning. So, upward transitioning would be, for instance, you being where you are now and then working your way out of, okay, this is where I want to go, and maybe and how, and then you will just figuring out your way to go there. And the downward transitioning is the way that I'm calling it, of course, like conceptualizing it, right? The downward transitioning is you first imagining all of the things that you really exactly want, like you assuming that that is already there, like just like with a train plane ticket, right? Just it is already there on your like for instance, my electronic ticket is already here now, right? So I know that it's already there. My job now is to figure out how to, for instance, I'm flying from Venice, right? So my job now is to figure out how to get to Venice and how to do things, and then I will go there. So do you see what I'm saying? The downward transitioning is basically when you already assume that you have all of that that you really want already happening, maybe in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, or even in 1 year, right? You already have that. And then you already like feel like you can see that is there. You can feel that this is already doable and happening. And then now your job is to figure out how to get there within 1 year time period or within 2 year time period or whatever it is. Because the way that I have seen the benefits of that downward transitioning is so many, is so one of them is like already getting more and more precise without compromises as to what is it exactly we're wanting, right? So we already have it more or less clarify for ourselves what is it that exactly that we're wanting. And then the other advantage I see is that we already assume that it's there, right? Oftentimes, I think when we set goals, we don't assume that it can work. We don't assume that it may even happen. We just like hope that things will work out, hope that things will happen. And we're even afraid not to use other words. Like I used to be that person who thinks, oh my God, if I feel certain that this is happening, then something bad will happen and then all the other things. So therefore, I rather stay vague, right? So instead of doing all of that and all of the fears and everything will come out, but the way that we process it is also different. So that's why so in the downward transitioning is basically we get so clear on where exactly we're wanting to be and how we are exactly wanting our life to be, and then working our way downwards of, for instance, who are we that person who has created that future, and then we look at that. What is the difference between that person and the person we are now, and then we start working through that. And then the other advantages I see of that downward transitioning is that we're no longer building the future based on the past in terms of, oh, I'm the person who can't really make this happen, or it didn't work in the past, so will it really work? So we don't really do that kind of attachment, but rather we just assume that the future that we're wanting, that exact future that we're wanting is already there. We are capable of creating that because we assume that it's already there. And then we start like because we know that it's already there, it's like assuming, like imagining we bought the ticket to Brazil within a year time period, let's say. And then we know that that ticket is there. We know that it's that destination is there. We just need to work our way out to get there, right? So then it becomes like less of a confusing journey, less of a doubting journey, less of a what keep waiting whether it will happen or not journey. It will be more like, okay, these are the exact things I really want, and I know that they're already there. I know that they're waiting for me. I just need to get myself there, right? So you might have heard many different versions of this, like future version and current version, right? So you can use so many different versions. And I don't want you to like get confused in the terminology, in the all the things. What's important is basically we understand how we approach our goals or transitioning, how we approach it rather than how we have been maybe approaching now. And if it hasn't been working, then this is another way to go. And this is what I have been trying, that we have been working to it together with one of my clients. And I will give you his example, so that you can um, see it clearly how this works, right? So when he came to me, he first told me that he didn't really know what he wanted. He wanted transition, but because of the past failures, he's now afraid to do that. He's working in the headquarter position, and he would like to transition to the field, because that's what he feels like where his impact could be bigger. But he's but he keep so he kept telling himself that he doesn't really know what he wants, and he cannot really make that happen because of the past failures, and he shouldn't be trusted and all the things, right? And then the way that we have worked together with him is first we uncovered all the beliefs about his past, about his abilities, and all of these things, right? And then we got it more or less clear as to what exactly is he wanting. What exactly is he wanting in that future to be? So the exact things that he really wants is basically creating the impact in the field, being a humanitarian, right? And at the same time, having his relationship with his boyfriend, and having his close ties with his mom and with his friends back in Europe, right? So these are the things that he really wants. So he really wants to have his fulfilling job, impactful job, and in the field, at the same time having his relationship with his partner, with his mom, and with his friends, right? So these are the things that he is wanting. Now, he had a lot of course, like we all do, a lot of doubts as to whether having it all can work or not, right? Whether having it all will be like ever possible for every humanitarian or not, and all of these things, right? So we have been working with him now at this stage of like really assuming and believing that that life is already there, right? That he can see himself in that future, like within 1 year time. Our time frame is 1 year time, right? Your time frame can be different. So within 1 year time frame, this we will just be assuming that he will have done it all. Excuse me, he will have had it all of the exact things that he wants. So it's like our plane ticket. He will have bought that life already, let's say. And then the next job is for us to with him, and which is where we're working now, is getting him realize what kind of a person who has made that happen. So notice that we're not really looking into the past of what kind of a person he was or what failures he did and all the things, even though they can always like drive us to being the person we really want if we use it well, right? But we're so focused on what kind of a person he was or he is, who will have done it or who has done that dream in the future. Are you following? Okay. And then once we clarify that version of him, right, who is the person who got him all of those exact goals he wants, and then we will work towards the difference between that version of him and the version he has now. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's very easy. It's just the mind's um, work. It's not really even like the work outside in the beginning. But once we realize the difference between that person who has made all of that happen and the version who is now, and we will see the difference, then we will start working currently on those differences. So, for instance, he might say something like, he's not good at, I mean, he hasn't said it yet, right? So we're not at that stage yet. We just started like with him 1 month ago. So we have come within 1 month, we have already come to realize what exactly he wants and what kind of a person he really wants to be, to who creates that exact goal within a year. We are already there. So once we figure it out of that person who's really has made this come true, then we will work on the difference. And then once we understand the difference, and then we start working towards that difference and clarifying and getting ourselves basically to that version rather than focusing in the past of what happened and how it happened and all the things. So he might say something like the difference between the version of that future within 1 year time and the version now might be that he doesn't trust himself, right? And because he doesn't trust himself, he keeps like letting fear lead his way. For instance, that's I imagine one of the first things he will be telling me because obviously of the things that he already told me, right? Of the past mistakes where he didn't pursue because of fear. So that could be one thing that we need to be working on. The other thing could be that he may say something like he's not really good at managing time. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but we'll find out that. Another thing that he might say is that he does not believe that all of the things that he really wants can all coexist in the same time period, in the same in his life, right? Without letting one take over the other. And we will probably need to work on that belief as well, because currently he was telling me that he never thought that he would find the relationship that he really wanted, or so that's why we can work on that as well. And then another difference might be that he believes that within 1 year time frame it's possible or not, because he may believe currently that it's now possible, but the future him already made this happen, remember? So we're assuming already that this is the done deal, this has happened already, so all we need to do now is get ourselves there. And the way that we get ourselves there is focusing, laser focus on these differences that we have seen in the personalities of that person there and the personality now. In terms of, okay, what are the things we need to be working on, right? We need to be working on the belief in himself, trusting himself that he can work around fear and he can now do something about fear in order to make the choices that he wants to and apply for jobs he wants to, or not just keep applying to any job that is out there, but being very specific. He's already saying that what is worth his time, right? So you can see that once you start trusting yourself, you also start valuing your time, and that's the second thing we'll be working on probably, is like how are we spending time, in what way, and are we really present in the things that we're doing, and how are we growing in our current place where we can use that as a sprint to get to where we want to. And then the other thing might be the belief about having it all and how we could have it all in how we could create the arrangement so that we can have it all. And another one might be the time frame of whether we can do it within 1 year, and then we start focusing on all the mindset around why time frame of 1 year is constrictive and working on that mindset. You can see, my friends, that whenever we're working downwards, so to say, transitioning way, it's a lot like clearer, a lot laser focused. And the other thing that I really want to highlight is that once we start up this journey of being exactly where we want to be, I really asked him as well, this client that I'm like using his example as a way to show you, right? I really asked him that we need to start living or being the person that made that happen already now. So, in other words, we will be focusing so much of how he's already being the person who has made that happen. So how can he already live the life where he's trusting himself? How can he already live the life where he knows what to do with fears, with emotions, with time? How he can already start living the life where he already knows that all of that is already a reality. And then once we start living that life from now on, then once we achieve and arrive there, it will be like, of course. It will be like, of course, because we bought the ticket. Maybe there might be 1 or 2 delays, or 1 week or 2 weeks of delays here and there, maybe. But otherwise, our brain is like, yeah, we've been living that life already. Instead of so much focusing of, oh, I'm not the person who can manage time. I'm the person who cannot do anything about fear, or like focusing so much on the past, like we often tend to do, right? Instead of focusing on that of how we used to be or what kind of a person we think we are, instead of that, we focus so much more of being the person who has already done the things within a 1 year time period. And our job is now just to get there and working through the differences of the person that we're there and we're here, and working through that mindset of the differences of those persons. So I really hope that you will try it out for yourself, because I just have shown you so many benefits of working through downwards, where you don't need to be waiting anymore for things to happen, but you assume that things have happened and you just need to figure out how to get there, right? You also don't need to be like compromising things of, oh, it is in the past how it was, and therefore I better check out, watch out, or whatever the things, but rather really like get very specific and exact as to what is it that you have created in the future, and you just have a look at it and then work your way backwards, right? And also already living that life that you're wanting in the future, already starting to live it now, so that you can start adjusting. Okay, if that person in the future is the person who can get all the goals done, how does that person behave now? How does that person spend his or her time now? What does he or she do and not do? How does that person deal with their emotions? How does that person think, right? So we start living that version and person now already. So you can also see that there is no really much doubt or fear around it, because we just assume, we just so believe so much that it has happened, that we just assume that we're just going to the thing that we exactly know where we're going to, instead of like keep um, doubting and fearing and whether it's going to work. What if it won't work? What if I will be disappointed? What if it will take long time and all of these things? We don't really do any of that. We just focus on, okay, this is the ticket we already bought, and here we are, and we just need to figure out how to get to our destination, right? So how do we get to take the plane? By first taking maybe the taxi and then the train ticket, or in my case, that's how it will be. And then once we're at the train, and then we go to the airport, and then we take the plane, and then we arrive at our destination. So if we made our journey of transitioning so clear, so believing, so believable that it's already there, it's already done, and we already even see who we are, the person who can make that happen, who made that happen in the future. And all we need to do now is figure out the difference between that version and now our version, and start living the version of that version now already. And we have an amazing capacity as humans of imagining, believing all of the things that we want to. And all we need to do then is work out those differences that we think are in the way. And then the differences is worked out. And then we're arriving where we. So we make ourselves it very simple, very doable, very clear as to how we're going, where we're going. And then once we figure all of this road out, and assuming that the place that we're going, we already know that we have achieved it. And once we figure this out, then we're like, yeah, I'm getting there. Even if when the doubt and fear creeps in, we explain to them, I know, but this is how I'm getting there. Right? So this is the goal that I really want you to try it out. And of course, I invite you to work with me on this exact concept so that we can get you to where you want to within a year time, so that you can look at your 2023 year and say, damn, my life is so different than it used to be, simply because I have allowed myself to imagine, allowed myself to believe, allowed myself to believe the coach who helps me get there, and allowed myself to believe that within that time frame it's possible, and then start just arriving there. So my dears, that type of very exact successful transitioning, all it takes is believing in ourselves that we can do it, believing in other people who can help us, and believing that in the place, in the time frame that we set for ourselves, we can achieve it, and start working towards it and committedly, and we arrive there. Because as I told you, another client of mine who has already achieved her goals of transitioning to the US, quadrupling her salary, and living the life that she wanted, and within year time is already what she's living now. So why not give ourselves a chance? Because we probably have tried so many different things already. We have tried so many different things of how we want and whatever. And probably if we keep wondering it further, our time will just pass. And the more time passes, the more difficult it gets for us to convince ourselves or to believe ourselves that we can do it. So that's why just let's start it now. Let's start doing it now. If you want to do it on your own, please do it now. But I really, really want you to encourage to do this with someone else, so that that person can help you work on the mindset necessary to get there. Okay, have an amazing weekend and see you next week. Bye, my friends.